So, I'm Nadia. Nice to meet you all tonight. I am the director for Ladyfest Flint, and I'm happy to introduce our guests today, Gia Ireland and Desiree Duell.
Hello, my name is Gia Ireland. I live in the city of Flint, Michigan. Recently graduated from the University of Michigan Flint with a lot of student loan debt, but I'm here and I do a lot of community work, volunteering and working with people in our communities, whether it's on the Flint water crisis or looking at ways of how we can combat poverty and make sure people have access to healthy foods that they can eat, clean water, and other social justice initiatives that I tend to work around in the city of Flint. Thanks for having me.
Hi, my name is Desiree Duell. I'm a Flint native. I'm an artist and activist. I grew up in Flint, went to Flint Central High School, moved away for about 10 years, and came back in 2011. And I was the first artist to sort of address the water crisis through a public art project called The Body of Water.
Great. Thank you very much for your introductions to our audience today. First and foremost, Ladyfest Flint worked this year to try to find more ways to address the current situation that is in our community, the Flint water crisis, and how greatly this impacts our community, and how we cannot stress how important it is that it must be resolved as soon as possible, and it is long overdue that we have a resolution for the safety and safeguard of our community. We are very, very thankful to have you here tonight. Our panelists will be asked questions in relation to their role in their efforts in relation to promoting awareness of the Flint water crisis, and through art and through videography, promoting awareness and trying to stress that we need this change. And then also, our panelists will be asked about the current situation, their thoughts, and in regards to their social justice and activism experience in ways that we can all participate today and later on. Our first question is for Gia. So a while ago, you had been conducting several interviews with various members of our Flint community, all different kinds of roles: business makers, students, innovators, professionals, everyday people you wouldn't necessarily see face to face. How would you describe your experience and what you saw and what you heard when you were asking about the Flint water crisis?
Thank you for that question. Last year, I had the opportunity to be a graduate assistant with Dr. Erica Britt at the University of Michigan Flint, and I was working with her on her Vehicle City Voices. And initially, it started out with getting people who lived in the historical Civic Park neighborhood and listening to their stories and experiences growing up in the Civic Park neighborhood, and what was it like, what was the houses like, what was the neighbors and the communities. And then from there, it branched into how the job market used to be in Flint, how we had the best public education system here, and then depending on who you interviewed, you would interview older people who were here in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, and then eventually I started interviewing people that were closer to my generation. I'm 24, I'll be 25 next month, and just from asking them the very same questions I would ask the older individuals, they had totally different perspectives. And it seemed like the older individuals basically had a moment to look at Flint when it was in its heyday, and when people had decent paying jobs, and we had clean water, and we had a decent school system. Then we get to people that are in their 40s, 30s, and 20s, and it's like, well, GM left, we lost jobs. Growing up, we didn't really have anywhere to go or hang out. But then there were other, positives as well. As, it used to be safer, or we used to have this event that would occur on a monthly basis, or something that occurred annually in the city of Flint. Then finally, I decided to pretty much try to create my own documentary to get the voices of Flint out there. So last summer, I was going to all these different events, Buckham Alley Fest, the annual Juneteenth celebration in Flint, just anywhere I could go, different concerts that were taking place at the Flint Local 432, where I had the opportunity to, if I had their permission, interview individuals on what is going on, what do you think pretty much contributed to the Flint water crisis, why is it that we have high rates of poverty, what took place, what happened, what is your view on it? And I would ask them a few questions around that, and I would capture it on video. And that's how I really started learning more and more from an individual perspective on what is going on in the city of Flint and what are some of the issues that led up to where we are today in Flint, Michigan.
Thank you. Our next question is for Desiree Duell about your project, A Body of Water. We would like to ask you for our audience about the inspiration behind your project, how it came about, and how it addresses the Flint water crisis today.
Is this on? Yeah, okay, sorry. In fall 2014, I got very sick from the water, and I wasn't really involved initially at that point. I was working on another thing, another social justice issue in Baltimore, and my good friend Nadia told me that the water wasn't safe and to stop drinking the water because I was getting sick. And so I switched over to bottled water pretty early on, and we started accumulating all these water bottles. And my son, I'm a single parent, my son and I were looking at all these water bottles accumulating, and I was just thinking at this legacy of, the burden that my child would take on from this water and what that impact would be. At that point, I didn't know anything about the lead. But I did know that I was sick and I wanted to do something. And having a small child, I couldn't go and protest in the middle of winter. And I felt like a lot of other people felt like they wanted to do something, but they probably couldn't go and protest. So I did some research on different materials to use, and I definitely wanted to use the water bottles, and I asked around, and other people thought it was a good idea. And so I wrote a small grant through the Share Our Flint program that no longer exists, and got the grant, and then the project started. And at that point, it was just speculation that there was something wrong with the water, and a lot of people were like, I thought the water was fine, why are you doing this piece about the water? And it traveled, it went to Woodside Church, it went to the Hispanic Technology Center on the east side, and then also to the Boys and Girls Club, and then finally ended up at the city of Flint, in which I was sort of trying to get Howard Croft, the former public works director, tried to push me off the lawn and tell me that, the water was safe. And I think 2 weeks later, it came out that there was lead in the water. So the piece sort of became a little bit prophetic. I was doing all these silhouettes with children, and we were lighting, we made sculptures out of the water bottles. And so then again, the second year it got funded, and I went around and did different workshops. This time not to specific sites, just trying to get people out, and it became sort of a protest piece, and it was shown then by the Flint River, which was really beautiful to see this river of children, and it sort of as a memorial of grieving this loss. Right now, you know, what I would love is for the piece to become a permanent memorial near the Flint River. Unfortunately, that costs a lot of money, and since some of the funding that was directed for arts is now being redirected to the water crisis, which is great, it's sort of been on a back burner, and I think that I needed a break. Not only was I doing art, but I was also doing a lot of spokesperson work for the water crisis, and my son and I traveled for the first 6 months of 2006. We were on buses. We went to DC twice. We went to Pittsburgh. We went all over, and being a single parent, not making any money, I could not make any money, and we traveled all the time with a young child was very hard. So now I'm just sort of regrouping and trying to move forward.
Thank you. The question is an open question. You may both answer if you choose to do so. One thing that I do have on my list that you did touch on was the difficulty that we can have in expressing our voices about the situation without going out and protesting. As easy as it can look to some, sometimes it may not be as accessible to us to go out and protest for various reasons. It could be our jobs, it could be scheduling, it could be having external commitments, including those such as raising your family. What are some ways that you think or that you have learned that we can speak out and protest in a way that is not picketing with signs on the lawn, in a way that is incorporated in our lifestyle, in a way that shows that we are not okay with this. We do not accept this for our families, for our communities, and that it is time for it to change.
You can definitely use social media. That's kind of how I started off. You know, I had created what I call the JiasWorld Facebook page. I was already on YouTube since 2009 making videos, and I just decided to use the social media platform that I had as a way to discuss social issues. And with my public Facebook page, JiasWorld, I started making videos discussing what was going on with the Flint water crisis. And it started off as me kind of having these rant-style videos where I would be in my car, and that seemed like where I was always venting, was my car. I would be in the car complaining, you know, here we are in the 21st century, and what is seen to be a first world country, yet here we are in the city of Flint, Michigan, and we don't have access to clean, suitable drinking water. And I was making quick 2-minute videos, and then eventually those 2-minute videos turned into 5 minutes. Then I was just, it seemed like every week I would do a live video where I was like, this is what's going on, here's some updates. And then I would tell people about different city council meetings that they could attend, or the different meetings that Nadia and Sharif had, and this would have been February of 2015. She started having meetings about the water crisis at Bethel United Methodist Church on North Ballinger Road. And that whole month, on Mondays, she would have meetings, and people were literally coming in with jugs of their water, and it would be brown, it would be discolored, it would have an odd odor to it. And I would go to these meetings, so you can definitely use social media to spread awareness. You can use hashtags, so we constantly use the hashtag Flint Lives Matter, Fix Our Pipes, don't forget Flint. You know, we do a lot of different hashtags that you can use. And then also, They have different petition websites, such as change.org. So a lot of people are creating petitions that you could easily sign online if you have access to the internet or you're on your cell phone, your mobile device. You could go on there and sign those petitions, and hopefully those petitions would get to the right person and we could get some justice in the city of Flint. But I would definitely say small things such as using your social media to speak out against social issues and injustices that you see going on. And also, if you have the availability in your schedule to attend some of the meetings that are already happening in the city of Flint. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the city council meetings. There's different organizations such as Flint Rising and the Flint Neighborhoods United, just different organizations that host meetings about the Flint water crisis, about how you can get information on getting a part of class action lawsuits, how you can get information on getting free, healthy fruits and vegetables to help combat the lead poisoning, and different resources in the city of Flint just by going to those meetings. So social media can definitely be used to fight for social justice and to bring awareness to what's going on in the city of Flint.
I was just telling Gia before we started the panel that her videos and looking at her page always gives me hope. And sometimes when you do this, when you do social justice work, I've been doing social justice work for 20, I'm gonna show how old I am, a long time. But, you know, there's a lot that you can do. I highly recommend reading Sick Woman Theory. It's a great article about care and capitalism. And, you know, I like really unsexy things like helping your neighbor with their kid, maybe babysit, sitting with an old lady. One thing that really helped during the protesting during the winter was people making coffee for protesters. Creating community among yourselves, having potlucks, caring about your neighbor. I know these seem like really small things, but they're really radical at this point. And I think that being in spaces, intergenerational spaces are really important. And being in community spaces are really important. I think the most radical thing that you can do at this point, because Flint is one of the most oppressed cities in this country, is care. And there's a lot of conflict in Flint because we are oppressed. And the easiest thing is to fight one another instead of talk with one another. And that's a really hard thing for us to do here. And lean in and care about each other. And the one thing that poverty takes away from people is their ability to contribute. And we think that we need money to contribute to society, but we don't. Being present, showing up, being kind. I know those seem like really sort of non-radical things, but in the space of capitalism, they are. And I think Flint, I think our greatest strength is love.
Thank you both for your in-depth and insightful responses. Our next question is in relation to that as well, to follow up. It can be very difficult to stand up to a bully. It can be very difficult to stand up and defend yourself and the person next to you if you're afraid of what might happen. Just because it's a confrontational situation. With that being said, when Dr. Mona Hanna-Attisha first uncovered research at Hurley Medical Center, she received opposition. What are some scenarios where you may have encountered barriers? And from that, what advice would you give for people who, on any scale, may have or encounter some sort of barrier when they choose to speak up or say something about the Flint water crisis?
Talk about a time that we had to face barriers like every day. I'm a single parent living below the poverty line. It's not fun. I think that one of the most dehumanizing experiences I had was applying for cash assistance. And I spent 5 days being told by a man that I wasn't a good parent and I didn't deserve to be a good parent because I lived in poverty. We had to take a standardized test. I think it's the first one that I ever passed. And it was really a dehumanizing experience. I told my son once when he had holes in his shoes, and I gave him a pair of my shoes to go to school, that they were magic shoes. And my son still wanted to wear those shoes because he thought they were magic. So I think that there's something in creating goodness in your life when you don't think that there is. And it's a very dangerous thing when you don't have anything to lose. And that's where I was with the Flint water crisis. And excuse my language, but I had no fucks to give. I have to raise my kid alone. And I can't raise my kid alone if I'm sick. And I think when you become that desperate, that everything changes, and it doesn't matter what anybody says, if they call you crazy or a heretic. When you have to survive and someone's life depends on yours, I think that sort of takes away everything, any kind of doubt. I'm scared every day, but that doesn't take away my fight. And I think that a lot of people think that courage is not being afraid. Courage is moving through that fear and doing it anyway. Yeah, it's a very dangerous, you can be a very dangerous person when you don't have anything to lose.
For me, what I can recommend is, and it can be difficult for some people to do this, but what I do try to recommend is self-care, and it's taking a moment for self, making sure that you're getting enough food, getting enough clean water, getting sleep. Maybe it's going out with your friends and playing video games for 2-3 days straight to take your mind off of what's going on, you know? And I mean, honestly, sometimes, like even yesterday, I was so happy that I didn't have to leave the house. So I was just sitting in my house, going to sleep the whole day, watching Family Guy. And that's kind of how I self-cared and was able to catch up on rest, because I mean, after years of going to college and working multiple jobs and volunteering and interning while in college, I just got used to maybe 4 hours of sleep each day, and then you just get up and do it again. So now that I'm finished, it's like, oh, you know, you can actually go to sleep. You don't have to be ripping and running and burning the candlestick at both ends. As far as barriers, I have dealt with people telling me that what's going on in Flint is not that serious. There's people who think it's a conspiracy theory. I mean, even though we have video footage, we have pictures, you can come to people's houses and actually see there's still different odor smells. Some people, water is still coming out brown. And this is 3.5 years after the initial switch to the Flint River in April of 2014, and we're still dealing with this. But I've been told that, you know, we're just crybabies, it's fake, this isn't really going on. And then, you know, yes, we're dealing with, you know, the Flint water, this is being an environmental hazard, but it's also very political. Because what I've noticed, especially on social media, when you look at different Facebook posts, particularly if it's about the Flint water crisis, there will be people saying, well, you know, it's a city ran by Democrats, so I don't know why they're surprised. And then it's like, well, it was a Republican governor who decided to switch us. So it wasn't because of the emergency manager law. We lost our democracy, and we had emergency managers coming in that were appointed by our governor. But yet people are attacking the local officials that were here already, and it's like, well, they didn't even have any, you know, jurisdiction over this, even though we elected them. But I will see those type of comments, and sometimes what I personally do is take a break from social media every now and then, so I'm not constantly being bombarded with negativity. But like you said, you know, for us, this is our home, this is our life, and you know, we constantly are in an everyday struggle to keep pushing forward. And as you said, sometimes, you know, showing that you care, that you're willing to listen to people's perspectives and what they've been through, and simple acts of kindness go a long way. I mean, honestly, go a long way. And like I said, Desiree is an amazing individual. She does so much great works, not only in Flint, but wherever she goes. And, you know, just seeing you in your different residency programs and all the work that you're doing, and being able to use your art to fight for social justice is amazing. So thank you for everything that you do. But really, I would definitely recommend self-care, you know, and even now, you know, I feel guilty sometimes even participating in self-care, because there is a sense of me where it's like, well, isn't that kind of selfish for you to just decide I'm going to take time, you know, and do what I want to do, but then at the same time, it's not healthy to constantly give yourself to other people. You need time for you, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I think there's the idea that if you're not fighting all the time, you're not doing enough, and that you have to, that there are multiple people fighting. So if you need to take a break, other people will fight. People rise up and come forward and come back, and that's part of working together. And you know, even though I'm not really doing a lot of the water crisis activism right now, what I do is I sit on boards, I support organizations that are doing really good work, and that's what I can do right now. And then, you know, maybe in a year, 6 months from now, I'll be doing another public art project. But it takes a lot of energy to build those projects, and then, you know, have to step back and reflect and take care of your life. But there's multiple ways that people can support and participate in the community.
I've noticed with the discussion up to this point, there have been references to social media engagement and also face-to-face community interaction. How essential are both social media and face-to-face, collective, collaborative, community interaction essential to solving this problem, holding officials accountable, and trying to restore our situation to where everybody can have healthy, clean access to water?
Social media is good. Gia is like the master of social media. Nadia. So I'm just gonna leave that to her. I'm a little bit older and I kind of know how to work it, but we need to take care of our grannies and our grandpas in this town. One of the worst things that I saw during the water crisis were happening in the senior centers. There were people that were not showering and had not showered for months because they were afraid of the water. I saw the worst things going on at the senior centers, and we really need to take care of our elders, and that is something that I'm going to emphasize. We have a lot of seniors in our community, and there's to see a senior living with mice feces all over them is not okay. We have to take care of our elders. That's really important. I would say some of the most active, wonderful activist and mentor, Claire McClinton. She keeps us together. I think that we need to respect our elders. That has to be done face to face. If it just means having coffee with someone. But those stories are important. And that's part of our history. That's part of our lineage, and we need to take care of each other. And I'm going to pass on social media to you, Gia.
Echoing everything that Desiree just stated, I do think that social media is a great tool. However, I feel like we get away from actually having human interaction. And it's like you need to actually get to know your neighbors that are already in your community, because there were people in our own communities who didn't know that we were under, we were having issues with our water sources. And looking at the Hispanic and Latino community, because everything was in English, you had an entire population of people in our own community, our neighbors, who didn't know that you cannot boil out lead. But because all of the literature and information was in English, a population of our neighbors were left out. And that is an issue. We need to make sure that we're talking to our neighbors. We're going to community meetings. Say hello to the person that's in your community and talk to them, get to know them. And then also doing the ongoing, this is an ongoing Flint water crisis issue, is making sure that we're able to drop cases of water off to people who may have issues with transportation, or just may have issues moving around and getting out of the house. So making sure if you see someone in your neighborhood who may have those issues, drop a few cases of water off. You never know, what is going on. So it's really good to have that human interaction. As far as social media goes, once again, it's not a week that's not going by that I'm personally not discussing what's going on in Flint. I'm not using hashtag Flint Lives Matter or sharing information. A couple of days ago, I learned through the Flint Neighborhood United's Facebook page that people, if you want your City of Flint service line to be replaced, you have to sign a permission slip to allow the contractors to come out to your house to dig up that service line. And that's information that unfortunately is not being spread enough, because a lot of people, including myself, was under the assumption, well, all of our pipes will be getting replaced. All of these lead service lines that are City of Flint service lines will be getting replaced. Well, apparently, you have to sign a permission slip. And that information is, I saw that a couple of days ago on the Flint Neighborhoods United's Facebook page. So it's stuff like that. Like if you're on social media and you see something, you can share, whether it's on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you can make a YouTube video or share a YouTube video, Tumblr, even on Snapchat. I mean, it's the 10 seconds, and now you can have up to like 6 snaps at once. So that's 60 seconds, 1 minute of information that you can share out on your Snapchat to people who watch you. So you can definitely use social media in a positive, constructive manner to get information out and to be vocal. And then also, as Desiree has hit on the nail time and time again, get to know the people that's already in your community. Like us having this community dialogue, and hopefully we'll all be talking back and forth soon. That is something that's powerful, and it's just really good to have that human interaction.
Thank you both for those very insightful and in-depth answers. We very much appreciate it. Our next two questions relate to the role and responsibility of government in relation to the crisis, as well as sociocultural issues that can also be addressed, topics that are addressed in social justice activism. First and foremost, how do we hold accountable governmental officials from the local to the state level?
This is one of those questions where we're constantly going back and forth. How can we hold elected officials accountable? For me, number one is voting. When you look at 2010, 2014, and even as recent as the August primaries that we just had a month ago, our voter turnouts are extremely low. Last month, we had around 7.4% of the eligible voters actually vote in the primaries. And it's like, well, how can we get productive, elected officials who actually are going to do the work and represent us correctly if we, the populace, we're not voting? So I really feel like, me personally, we need to be out there voting, and we need to be voting in local elections, state elections, and presidential elections. I can't harp on that enough. However, once you vote for an elected official, they need to be held accountable. There needs to be transparency on their end. You can't get in office, tell people what they want to hear, then you get in office and you don't represent your constituents, and you do the complete opposite. I do think more people going to city council meetings, particularly in the local situation of Flint with our own city council and our mayor and their administration, holding them accountable, addressing the issues, going to their office meetings, sitting down and talking to them is one way that we can hold them accountable. And then at the end, with election day, if you are constantly having issues with this individual, you can vote them out of the position that they have. So it's crazy, because it's like, in my opinion, we the people, we have the power. It's just that we have to start utilizing our power and coming together, united, to hold elected officials accountable. And the people who are seeking to run for positions, that we need to start vetting them. What is your real agenda? What really has you feeling that you're able to be in this position? Because I also see people who are running for various positions. Some people have some great initiatives, but then for other people, it kind of, just being 100% honest, it looks like it's an ego booster, and they're not really that concerned about the people or the issues in the community. So we need to be having community dialogues like this with elected officials. They need to be put on, up here and be answering questions from the people, and it shouldn't be doctored up 24/7. It should be a straight up answer. I feel like those are some ways that we can get more transparency and accountability with the elected officials, whether it's local, state, or federal.
I agree, but I'm disillusioned with voting, to be honest. I think that the one thing that was really powerful about the water crisis was the organizing that was happening on the ground. And I do believe in community organizing and pushing government officials to be accountable in numbers. And I think that's a good way to do things. I think holding actions, sort of like what Gia was talking about, inviting public officials to meetings, really using and harnessing the media. That's one thing that I sort of participated in during the water crisis. Initially, when the Red Cross came in, deliveries, you had to have an ID, and you could only get one case of water. Well, there's a lot of people in Flint that don't have IDs, and we obviously needed more than one case of water a day. We were especially concerned about the undocumented immigrants that were afraid that they would be, that ICE would come and take them, so they weren't going and getting water. And so my friend and I videotaped me because I am a white woman, there's no question, you know, it's sort of ridiculous. We decided to tape me being denied water because I didn't have an ID, and we put it on social media, and within 2 or 3 hours, the National Guard came out with a statement that you didn't need ID. You didn't need an ID to go get water. And so that was one thing that we did. And we used, often what I do is I am able to use my privilege and my body in ways that can expose injustice, unfortunately. So a lot of times that's what I do as far as activism. And really being able to harness the media. I stay in contact and I use the media as a tool for activism. So that's one thing that really, using that, that's a good way to make a politician squeal, because they don't want bad press.
Thank you both. We have a few more minutes. Before we end with a closing statement, we'd like to turn it over to the audience to see if anyone has any questions. If you do, please raise your hand and I can call on you and ask what your question is. Anyone have any questions? Yes.
Okay, my name is Dr. Denise Smith-Allen, and I was watching the news, and the news presented this forum as a forum talking about the water crisis and the fact that it has officially ended. So when I heard that, I immediately put my clothes on and came here, thinking that there were going to be, not to minimize your participation because I do appreciate it, but I was thinking the way it was presented on the news was going to be the officials talking about how this was going to impact the city of Flint. So I'm just curious as to, you know, why it was presented that way, or was there something else that I may have missed? So if you could address that, I appreciate it.
Sure, I think that's a question for me that relates to the marketing of the presentation of the panel today. I'm not sure if there was this communication when we did send the press release out to the media. Our main intent and goal was to communicate that we were inviting social justice activists in Flint who had experience related to the Flint water crisis. Our goal was to bring them up on stage and have them share their stories, their experiences, and offer advice on how we as a community can tackle the Flint water crisis, what we can do to become more active and bring about the solutions we would like. We did not intend in any way, or I hope we didn't communicate that we felt the crisis had ended, because we don't feel that way. We see that still today, people have this problem in their homes. Still today, their kids are affected by it in schools. It affects their test scores and their futures, and our next generation in our city and how this is going to impact our city as a whole for generations to come. And so we truly, genuinely hope today that our time with our impressive, amazing speakers with so much experience, that hopefully these members of our community can share their insights in a way that can also pass the light, pass the torch, so that we all feel empowered together to bring out the solutions that we would like. Thank you. Are there any other questions?
I mean, I very much appreciate a lot of like what you guys are saying, especially what you were saying about like the community life. Because definitely like there's no unity without community, especially with our elders. I was a senior companion for like the longest time. They're so sweet and they say whatever they want. But I'm wondering in what ways do you, or what experiences have you guys had with like having the conversation with like schools? Right, like how do you actually have that conversation on like a larger scale? Because also like these discourses are beautiful, but like I found out about it because I looked on it online, right? But I think that like there's so many youth inside Flint and even within like the county that like could possibly have this discussion. And have you guys tried outreaching to youth, or if there's organizations that do that?
Well, the thing that's really complicated about Flint City is that the majority of children who, because one of the things that we were doing is really advocating for services for students in Flint schools. Unfortunately, I would say the majority of children that actually live in Flint don't go to Flint schools. So how do you have that conversation when most of the children are not going to these schools? And so I think that that's really, it's really important to think about community and what can happen outside of school. And that learning happens more than just in a school. And I would say that I hope that Flint schools are really getting the proper support that they need. A lot of the recovery money actually went to JiasWorld, which covers every place except Flint. I mean, they have Head Starts in Flint. A lot of the recovery money only covered ages 0 to 6. So anyone, all the children that were poisoned over 6 really didn't get a lot of recovery money. And there's a lot of focus on the younger generation, which is unfortunate. It was something that really bothered me. My son is 11, you know? So, I think that that's what most disappointed me about the recovery is there was just a focus on 0 to 6. So it's basically okay that we throw away an entire generation, right? If they're not getting the support. There's very little recovery beyond age 6, unfortunately.
Thank you for both of your questions. What I can say is that I do know that AmeriCorps, they have like different groups that are working in the Flint community schools. But also going back off of what Desiree said, a lot of students who actually live in Flint do not go to Flint community schools for various reasons. And granted, you know, we're getting more grant funding towards different programs, whether it's around healthy food options, so people can like help combat the lead poisoning with rich in vitamin D, getting those dark green leafy vegetables in. I see programs like that, but I do think, and then of course at the Flint Boys and Girls Club and Big Brothers Big Sisters, there's different grants around that are supposed to be targeting different initiatives to help young people, but the initial money seemed to be focused on 0 to 6, which I understand, we want to make sure that the youngest, we can do everything we can to help them, because when you look at the school to prison pipeline, how lead can disrupt an individual's behavior, we want to make sure those children are not being sent to, just all kinds of unnecessary stuff that could possibly lead them to being in a jail cell. But then also, we can't forget everyone that's 6 and older, and then even for older people, lead can stay in your bones. So who's to say that 10, 15 years down the road, you have a child and you could be possibly passing lead to your child. But because you weren't 0 to 6 at the time, you're left out of care. So, and then there was incidences where you would have people who lived in Flint, initially in 2014, 2015, they relocated because of what was going on, and they were cut off of any type of care, especially with the food services, making sure that people have access to food. But if they weren't living in Flint anymore, they were taken out of care. And that's, problematic, and we need to make sure that we use a true community approach in that we make sure everyone who, if they were living here between April 2014 up to now and so on, has care. As far as the programming for youth, I would definitely need to learn more about it, but I do know there's different grant funding opportunities, and like AmeriCorps, they have different teams that's working, and a lot of different student-led organizations at the colleges and universities here do a lot of civic engagement work with high school, middle school, and elementary youth.
Thank you. We would like to end tonight's panel with a closing statement and of thanks and information. This panel is brought to you by Ladyfest Flint. Thank you very much for joining us today. We are an arts and cultural women's empowerment festival that is LGBTQ friendly and inclusive, multiculturally inclusive. We aim to showcase Flint women and LGBTQ talent through the arts, through music, performances, workshops, panels like you see today, and encouraging our vendors to also come out and share their DIY and handmade items. We also have an art show that just finished at the Barris building. Right after this, we do have a show we're concluding this year's Ladyfest Flint with a show with 3 local bands. We would like to thank you very much for your time here today. Thank you so much for what you do for our community in every capacity. Thank you for what you have, and thank you for sharing with us today. Please give me a round of applause.
Thank you all for listening to us and taking the time out of your busy schedules to come and be here, and the questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much.